I'm Just Saying is sponsored by Hover.com. Go to gfu.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. FreshBooks. FreshBooks is an easy-to-use online invoicing service that saves you time, gets you paid faster, and makes you look professional. Get started completely for free at freshbooks.com. And by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook by going to audiblepodcast.com/GFQ. Hey everybody, welcome to I'm Just Saying, episode 76. I'm Andrew Zarian. I'm joined by the short shorts man himself, Lon the Magic Man Blaze.
I'm wearing bike shorts.
You are?
I am.
Very attractive.
Thank you. I knew that it would keep your interest through the show.
They actually have.
Yeah.
I'm very much interested in
and
the
I'm
shorts.
wearing the red.
The
highly
red
provocative.
tights underneath.
Highly provocative.
What is it, Sportella?
It's because I'm like living at boot camp now. I am living there.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to
you're
boot
committed.
camp 6 days a week now. It's nuts. And
I am too, but that's my life. I consider life a boot camp for me.
Yeah, well, it's an emotional boot camp.
I've really checked out. I'm done. I've checked out today.
Yeah.
After dealing with the thing I'm dealing with, which I don't want to get into.
Let's talk about like really screwed up people today.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
I don't want to go into it, but I'm dealing with a situation where I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, it was explained to me before the show, and here's what I think you should say about it. So the NBA, they voted again today not to start the season. They're still locked
lazy.
Out. You know what I love? You know what people are going to do? People are going to really dig college basketball. That's what people are going to do.
Oh, nobody cares about college basketball.
But
I never got it. I know people
want sports.
I know some people really care about college basketball. Yeah. I like the NBA. That's one of the sports that I actually sit and watch all the time. I'll watch it.
So how are you feeling about it not being there?
It's not wasting 2 hours of my life.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
I don't think pro sports should ever go away long, because eventually people go, well, it's just guys running up and down.
Well, it happened before. It happened in '99.
Yeah, they had a half season, didn't they?
It was I think it was a very limited season that they had, and I think it hurt them big time.
Nice.
Having the lockout. So again, they're having a lockout, and
right, because it worked so well last time.
What do you know what the reasoning is? Why they're not going back?
Because no one gets enough money.
No, nobody's making money.
Nobody is making enough money. It's a sad situation that there's no money in professional basketball.
Or anything. None of them have money.
Right. I love American poorness. I just love being poor. Did you see that they're going to start giving people who are like have, and I think it's important, but it's like a sign of, American poorness. They want to be able to make sure that low-income families in inner cities have Wi-Fi access.
Yeah, New York City's been trying to do a Wi-Fi thing for people.
Right.
And, they installed, a couple years ago, they put these towers, they're not cell towers, but they're Wi-Fi repeaters.
Like relay towers.
Yeah, up and down the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And when I asked them what it was for, they said it's for a citywide internet service.
Right. I think Atlantic City is completely
wired.
Wi-Fi. I mean, wherever you are, there's free Wi-Fi.
There's something. They put these things in. They couldn't give me any more information. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a journalist. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the neighborhood. I did this BS thing. This one guy told me that it's for some citywide Wi-Fi program that they're installing, where it's very cheap. I think it's like $5. It's for low-income housing, but they're going to wire the entire city. My cell phone service, I have no service anymore because of these towers, these antennas that they put out in front of the house.
Yeah.
There's nothing up and down the block. There's nothing up and down that block. But if I go, 2 blocks down, it's perfectly fine because these repeaters aren't there.
Lovely.
So thanks for ruining my service.
Yeah, and listen, you know me, I'm a cyclist, but I think it's hysterical that the city doesn't have Wi-Fi, but boy, do they have bike lanes. This city has so many bike lanes now, and everyone's complaining about them because it got rid of like half the parking spaces, and there weren't enough parking spaces to begin with.
Well, the mayor doesn't want
there to be cars in Midtown.
At all, especially on Sundays.
Right.
There should be nothing in the city on Sundays.
He keeps creating pedestrian walkways in a place that you only really want to walk like 4 months out of the year. Otherwise, you want to hop in a cab or jump in the subway and get to wherever you're going because the weather's not nice enough.
I was in the city the other day. Last Monday, I was in the city.
I know. That's why we didn't have a show, but
I know.
I'm not complaining.
I was in the city last Monday, and I have to tell you, the level of traffic has dramatically gone down in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Well, depends on where you are. Ninth Avenue now is just awful because it's pushed. It's been pushed away from.
But I'm talking about, like on the east side, like where Penn is.
Right.
Well, more towards Midtown. Let's talk about like Midtown. It's not as congested
they're
as
trying
it was.
to do anything that they can.
Well,
They're finally getting that tunnel between Penn and Grand Central because there's never been a
the connection. Yeah,
a connection. They want to bring the 7 through to Jersey,
which that's crazy.
Yeah, I think it would. I think the 7 should go all the way to like Iowa.
Just take the 7 train
Just
everywhere.
take the 7 right out to Iowa. It's great.
When is the Grand Central thing going to be done?
That I don't know. I know that
2092.
Yeah, and as I go to my maker, I will go. Oh, how nice! I can get to Penn Station now.
I think it really it's not really that people care about not taking their cars. I think it's just so expensive now to drive in the city, get your car hit, have a it's very expensive. Parking is expensive.
Parking is insane.
So people just don't do it.
The tolls are insane, and if you get a ticket, it's insane. If you get towed, it's an issue. I mean, just trying to get your car back. It's just logistically, it takes so much time. Unless you're like, you have to be abundantly rich and in a limo and not care what time you need to get anywhere.
That's what I want to do. That's really what I want.
That's American poor. American poor means you only have one limo. No, have you seen the commercial on TV? It's great. It's like, do you feel cheated because you don't have a large screen TV? Have you a high definition flat screen TV?
No, I haven't seen the commercial.
This commercial basically saying that, is your life bad because you don't have a widescreen, flat screen TV, high definition TV? And I'm thinking, what other country in the world would they play this in? I mean, who has it? Who has it second worse than us? Because
Canada.
Yeah, Canada. Canada's like in good shape. I have Canadian friends. I think that they're the secret. They just sit kind of quietly. They sit kind of quietly and let everything go well in their country. And they're like, no, it's not so great here. And it's fabulous. It's like amazing in Canada.
Well,
and they're just
all
like,
our advertisers are from Canada,
Yeah.
but they've taken a hit big time because they deal with a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
Their business is here, so they're not really making the money that they were making.
Yeah.
It's a mess. It's a mess.
It's kind of the whole Occupy Wall Street thing is getting me because now they're trying to protect everyone. They want the 99% represented, but they're now taking showers in the bathrooms, or they're taking sponge baths in the bathrooms of the Burger Kings.
Disgusting.
Yeah, right, exactly. So the people that they're trying to protect, they're now abusing basically. At a certain point, it's like you've made your point. Move on. Maybe come back in a month and say, we're still here, we're still upset. But now that they're just camping out.
That's all right. When Thanksgiving comes, all those students from Columbia and NYU are just all going to go home and come back and forget about it. I'm telling you.
I think there are people that are very earnest there. I don't know if they have the greatest system by which to deliver their message, but I think they're earnest. I do. But at a certain point, I don't know, how long can you sit and beat a drum and say life sucks? And you have to do something about it for yourself.
Yes, but you have to realize I am from a very spoiled generation. And I think we've gone over this a couple times, but I'm from a generation where every other job other than being a doctor and a lawyer
sucks.
Is a bad job. You have not made it.
Kids
in
used to
life.
pick on me because I was a teacher. Why would I choose to do that?
Yeah, why are you a teacher?
Why would you choose?
For the amount of school you went to, you could have been a doctor.
You seem really smart, Mr. Blaze. Why would you be a teacher?
People are idiots. I was having this discussion with somebody that just graduated college just the other day, and I said, well, what are you going to do? He's like, I don't know. There's no jobs. And I'm like, what did you get your degree in? They go, English.
Yeah.
I'm like,
philosophy.
What did you? I'm like, other than becoming an English teacher, what were you going to do with that degree? What did you think? You're going to walk in and say, I have a degree. It's in English, but I have a degree.
Well, I think there's all the writing careers that can, copy and that.
But they don't want to do that. You know what? This was the problem. And I said, well, you could go work for a publisher. You could do a lot of things. They go, well, I don't want to make anything less than $50,000. I'm like, well, good luck.
But see, I think you used to, 10, 15 years ago, you used to be able to walk out of college and say that and have it
because nobody
happen
was
in
going
large
to
part.
college 20 years ago.
Well, I'll realize too that the unemployment rate in this country is hovering at 9%. It's half that for a college graduate. It's half of that.
Is that still true?
Yeah, still true. Only 4.5% in college educated. It's the manufacturing jobs that are all disappearing to other places in the world.
Yeah, but I think these are underqualified people going to college now.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
because
that's the
everyone
problem.
used to not go to college.
Nobody, yeah, only certain people went to college, and the smart people went. But now everybody's going to college, so everybody's has that.
The minute
direction
you started
in life.
having like remedial reading in college, it was like, yeah, really not so much. You just didn't do that. But no one was respected, and all has to be attached to a degree. Even things that were in voc programs are now college things.
I think the biggest problem is that we have this idea that college is the go-to answer.
Right.
But I think right now
it's not for everyone.
Right now it's not the answer, and I think we need to bring back.
Remember my friend Katie?
Yeah.
She never went to college,
Oh, extremely smart
yeah,
woman.
insanely smart.
Yeah.
Yep. There's something, and this makes a lot of sense. I was hearing about a college that has an entrepreneurial program, and they basically get people started on their entrepreneurial projects like in their junior year, so that you're actually It really makes a lot of sense, because that way, you're in control of your destiny to some degree, and you don't have to like work for someone else and then get them to like you and then introduce your product and that sort of thing, whatever it is that you want to do. Because the guy that I'm working with, he went to pharmaceutical school, but he's doing really well. The guy that I'm partnered up with.
And he's not doing anything with pharmaceuticals.
Right, exactly. But no one does what it started.
Well, I went to
when
school for business, so right. And in a way, yeah, I'm running a business, but I didn't go for communications. I didn't go to school for broadcasting.
Right.
I took a different turn, but I did have a business. I sold my business, and now I have another business.
I'm so much smarter since college. Do
you
know
think
where
so?
I learned a ton teaching. I learned
from
how
what
to
the students or just how.
Well, the experience. It's what's the expression? Success is the reward for learning from failure, and I failed a lot. So I had a lot of success. And I chose to learn from it. I screwed things up, and I think at this age, I'm starting to get my feet under me.
Yeah. It's a bunch of underqualified people with degrees going to try to get jobs,
well,
and then they cry and they
right.
go, "Well, I can't get hired. It's
right.
the
well,
1%." No, it's not.
It's whole No Child Left Behind. They drew the line in the sand, very close.
Yeah.
So
well, no
then,
more, right?
Yeah,
It's gone.
Yeah, it's hysterical, and there are people trying to hold on to it because
the worst thing ever. It was the worst thing ever.
Right, drove me out of teaching.
Yeah.
Drove me right out of teaching.
Bunch of idiots leaving. You can't teach the way you want to teach.
Yep.
And you got to just follow the book. Everything is based on a test.
Yep.
And if it's not, then you fudge the numbers, and you got a really dumb kid passing. I always wondered that though, Lon. There are people that I know. They graduated high school, but they're not smart people.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how they got by.
Like, I think there should be like. You want to assess how good an educational system was? Find people 25 years old and test them on freshman year high school stuff and see how much they know.
I guarantee they won't know.
Right. There's a book, everything I ever learned, everything that I ever needed to learn, I learned in kindergarten. I think there's a lot of that in the world. There's not a lot you need to learn.
Well, I'll tell you, and I've said it as a joke on the other shows. We went on a cruise. And there was another girl that came on the cruise, and she thought the Civil War was the fight over the equator between North America and South America. And they were fighting for the middle, for the equator, which is the middle, North and South. She also could not understand how fax machines work.
Right.
And her idea is that it's giant tubes that connect you to everybody. Everybody has these tubes. So she's like, if you could fax a piece of paper, why can't you fax a burger? And I'm like, no, I got to move the camera. Go ahead,
Sorry.
Lon.
This is my fault, people. So the camera's on me because I kicked the camera. But I did not shoot the deputy, so I'm okay.
But it just... It makes perfect sense. Like how do you not understand that you're not actually like?
Okay, you know what the saddest part is when these people. Oh God, how am I going to do this? I worked, for a long time in a school, and my APs were rarely as smart as I was. Rarely. But they had dominion over me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They would tell me stuff and they'd go, "Now, Lon, you really have to do this." And I was like, "Yeah, actually, no, I don't. I don't have to." But okay. And I did the smile and nod.
I just don't think people give a shit. I think people feel entitled, and people feel that because I'm going to school, I'm gonna get a degree, and I'm fine. I'll come out and I'll do something.
Well, I think the thing is, this country worked so well for so long that people just said, all I have to do is show up at college, and I'll pass through it, because that's what people do. I know all these other guys that went to college. They went, and they, and I'm like them. They got a $50,000 job. I'll get a $50,000 job. Yeah. And they just think it'll happen because they think everything that has power over them, a government, a school, they all think it's their parent.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, actually.
And what did these kids' parents do? Spoiled them rotten, made it easy. And anytime they screwed up, they went, "Oh, don't feel bad. We'll fix it."
But also, the college is in the business of making money, right? That's why they are there.
Right.
It's a business now.
Well,
so
No Child Left Behind was one of the
there.
biggest scams in the world because you know who made money? Textbook companies and test taking.
Explain it for people who don't know what it is.
No Child Left Behind was a program that said that we're going to develop an educational format by which every kid is painted with the same brushstroke. No kid is going to be given more or less opportunity. It's absolutely the same. Meaning that a kid who needed help got help. That was great. But it also meant that a kid that could fly and should go further, no, you have to stay here and work at this level because you're in the 8th grade. Everyone works at this level. Get to the best of this level, and then we'll move on.
But we didn't have that. I mean, we had SP and Magnet.
Right, you were prior to that.
Don't they still have it though? Doesn't it exist?
It's very watered down. Everyone's integrated. All the special ed kids are now integrated into the classroom.
Because when I didn't, high school you had AP classes, obviously, but in middle school we had SP, which is I don't even know special program.
Kind of,
and then you had the magnet classes, which the magnet was
just the gifted kids,
just like kids that are just extremely high IQ.
They were a kid that you could lock a classroom of magnet kids in a room, and they would come out smart. They didn't even need a teacher,
but they couldn't open the door.
Right.
They knew everything. They could do all the work, but they can't open a door. It was like that.
But genius is always like that.
So I was in SP, and my mother pulled me out of SP in 8th grade.
Because
I have no idea. But she took me out.
Because it was evil.
No, you know what it was actually, and I'll tell you what it was. A lot of people, and again, you want to talk about corruption. Certain people's kids were in certain kids' parents were in the PTA, and they would kind of make sure the kids stayed there.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I had some kids whose parents were in the PTA, and the kid was in SP, and it was like, oh, right. Okay, now I see why the kids... Because this kid couldn't find his butt with both hands and a flashlight, and he was in an SP class.
Yeah, somebody said something interesting. They go, school is only 50% the battle. You can't control what the child learns at home. No, you're absolutely right. But there were many people... But to go back to the original conversation, there are many people out there that don't need to go to college because they're never going to do anything with this. They should figure out what they're going to do.
They learn differently. They learn differently.
Again, like I see
Apex
people on
Tech
TV.
has been very important for some people.
Listen, it's not a problem. But again, those are jobs. That's a big no-no. It's a taboo job, right? Oh, you're a mechanic, you're a plumber, you're an electrician. Oh,
and those people can buy and sell me 6 times over.
Yeah. But my electrician is making, $150,000 plus a year. My plumber drives a brand new, S500 Mercedes.
Right.
Like these are people that have built unbelievable careers.
And they look at the kid with the X amount of thousands of dollars of educational loans. And there's the other business. If you send everyone to college, they have to pay for it. They can't afford it. They take out a loan.
Did you see what Obama's doing? He wants to put in a thing where your student loans cannot be more than 10% of your annual salary. So you only have to pay back 10% of that a year.
That's a cool gig.
These loans are never going to get paid.
Well,
They're never going to get paid.
but it's like, this is the thing. This is where I'm a bad capitalist, because I'm thinking, yes, you've loaned me the money. How many times will I have paid back the $100,000 that I've loaned you? The one that gets me is the mortgage. I refuse to pay a mortgage. I bought a house outright. Gone.
Yeah.
Done. Because, my house would have cost me 3.5 houses by the time I was done paying the mortgage. That's ridiculous. I got better things to do with that money.
Well, it's a big scam. And if you think about, if
you charge that kind of interest with anything else, it would be called usury. It would be a crime.
20
it would be
years
loan
ago,
sharking.
20 years ago, the mortgage rates were about, let's say 25 years ago. Let's say when my parents bought their house, 27 years ago. The mortgage rates were like 15, 16%.
Right. You used to be able to deduct it on your taxes.
Yeah.
Though.
But you were paying $100,000 for a house.
Mm-hmm.
The same house that you're paying $100,000 for now is $1 million.
Yeah.
The salary, the person's salary has not gone up 10 times over.
But the house price has.
The house price has. So how are you able to justify getting a house? How can you get a house?
Basically, you pay for a house your whole life. You're paying rent your whole life.
30, 40 years, you'll pay a mortgage. Yeah. You'll do 30 years, and then you'll refinance your mortgage. You could do it another 15 years. Your whole life you're paying for it.
Right. So you're renting. You don't really own your house. You're renting your house. At the very end, you own it, and then you sell it to someone else.
It's the same.
You borrow it from you borrow your house from the
I
bank.
lease cars. I have one car I have, and then I lease the other one. And people look at me like, well, but you don't own the car. I'm like, let me ask you, did you pay $50,000 cash for your car? They go, no. I financed it. I'm like, you don't own your car. Your bank owns the car.
Right.
And guess what? It's the worst investment ever. You're going to pay for this car for the next 5 years. You're going to pay the price that it was 5 years ago, but the price that you're paying, like the value of the car now, is nowhere near your rate.
Right. The minute the front tires hit the pavement outside the dealership, it decreases by
and guess
a
what? Every time there's a problem with the car, it's your fix now. Yeah. I lease them. After 3 years, I don't care. I just give it back and grab another one. And I'm paying half the amount that you're paying.
I've never bought a new car ever.
It's crazy. I think it says somebody said something interesting. He goes, it's this old school way of thinking where we have to own it. We have to own the house. Renting is not an awful thing, but we are kind of conditioned like you rent in the beginning and then you buy something.
Well, the ownership transcended the idea that you now have financial clout, because no one has financial clout anymore. You might as well rent. I mean, you do have tax deductions.
Yeah, but I mean, you still have to pay the property taxes. You still have to pay everything else.
Yeah.
It's
but that's included in, if you rent, you include it. It's like you're going to get screwed one way or the other.
I just find it interesting. Either way, it's the same thing. Unless you're buying a house cash, here you go, then you own it. Then you own the house.
Right.
You're not going to own the house until that last payment is paid.
That's my house is my retirement.
Yeah,
fund.
that's it.
I've been looking at every once a month on The View, they do houses from around the country.
Yeah.
I saw a house in like Sheboygan, Wisconsin. It's 1.5 times the size of my house and cost
like $4
and cost 1/20th of what my house
isn't that crazy?
Goes for. 1/20th. So I can move to Sheboygan, live in that house, and then have all the rest of the money that I had from selling my own house here. That's how we'll live. Nice breath in.
I know. I was talking to a relative of mine, and he was telling me his property taxes are about $28,000 a year.
You tell people that from other parts of the country, they look at you like you're insane.
$28,000 a year to live there.
And then, but we pick on, we complain about our property tax, but we pick on like the fact in Oklahoma that they have like these awful schools and the roads aren't great and everything. It's like, well, you have these property taxes because you want everything. You want amazing schools and you want good bridges and you want all this and that. It's, if you want really good things, you got to pay for them.
Yeah.
We're lucky that we live in New York because so many foreigners come here and spend their money.
Yeah,
people don't spend their money in Tulsa.
Brian Monroe says wrong. The U.S. government owns the home and businesses. If you don't pay your property taxes, they could take it away. Actually, in a way, yes, they can. What they do is they put a lien up against the house. So when you sell it, you owe whatever the amount is that you haven't paid.
Right.
They don't really kick you out. Like there's different, unless you say no to the lien, you don't agree with that. Then they could come and say, well, you haven't paid it in like 2 years, 3 years. So we're taking it from you. So that's how that works. It's crazy. It's such a crazy system. I know we're worried about the Kardashians. That's the biggest news on the fucking front page. The Kardashians. It's what everybody wants to listen to.
Yeah. I just don't know how they justify it. 72 days. That's amazing.
Now, do you think that it was a scam? Like, do you think it was like just for TV?
I think it snowballed.
You know what's interesting though? They broke up exactly a year from the time they announced their dating. Exactly.
Really?
To the day, to the T. Yeah. That's what one of the papers said.
So they never discussed, where are we gonna live? I just find that just kind of stupid. Not even stunning. It's just stupid.
Well, I think. Listen, it's a big sham. They made a killing off of it, and then now they're all screaming like, "Oh yeah, this is
right." They'll make
and
they'll make money over the breakup.
Yeah,
they'll make money over the interviews and the controversy over what ensued in this, and nope.
But we are so enthralled in what they're doing. You listen to all the stories, you listen to the media.
And they get to have bottle service.
Yeah.
That's the thing that gets me. It's like what Americans want. Americans want this fancy car. They want bottle service. They want a Rolex. And they want to be in the VIP section. And it's like, what does that get you? What exactly at the end? What do you get for your?
But it was I'll tell you, Lon, it was a lot easier. It was a lot easier to save money 30 years ago because you didn't have plasma TVs and cell phones and computers. And,
right.
I mean, you didn't have those expenses, so you could save.
We've built in what we refer to, Joe and I refer to as necessary luxuries at this point. You really don't have to have a microwave. You can warm up food on your stove. You really could if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, because the pace of the world is the way it is, you kind of have to have a microwave because you want to heat stuff up fast because you're doing stuff. And everything that becomes... And then, do your kids need fancy designer clothes? No. Send your kid to school not in them.
Yeah.
What happens?
Do you think it's still like that? I think that branding is not as big as it was when I was younger.
Oh, I think the reason you think that is because it's so ingrained in the culture now.
Really? Yeah. I guess everything is a name brand.
Yeah.
When I was going to school, I mean, it was all Nautica and Tommy Hilfiger, and everybody had a polo shirt. And
right.
I don't really. I guess everybody's wearing it, so it's not. Right. It's part of it.
You can tell what everyone's wearing. You can tell what kind of T-shirt they're wearing. From Old Navy to Affliction, you can tell what kind of T-shirt someone's wearing.
But you saw it a lot when you were teaching, right?
When I was teaching, when I was a kid,
I mean, were you shocked when a kid would have like a $200 bubble jacket? Like,
yeah, particularly when it was the kind of kid that had the $200 bubble jacket or the 8-ball jackets and all that crap. Yeah, just stunned me.
But what was your reaction to that? Because that's and to even give your kid a $200 jacket. Like, how would you? What would go through your mind? Because obviously that didn't go on when you were a kid.
What is the parent substituting for in a gift like this?
Yeah.
What is the parent not giving the child that he has to give the child a bubble jacket
for $200?
Yeah.
And everybody had it. That was the thing.
What I don't understand is how special is it if everyone has one? People used to want like a Coach bag because no one else had a Coach bag. Now everyone has one. Why is it special anymore?
Well, Coach isn't even special. It's all Louis Vuitton now.
That's what I mean. You could be a Louis Vuitton, but everyone has a Louis Vuitton bag. You can go to the milk farm and find someone with a Louis Vuitton bag.
Yeah, everybody has it.
Right.
But and that's why I think the biggest hit is the guy that's making, you knocked the camera.
I did it.
Yeah. It's all right. It's all right. I think the fact that, let's say you're making like $120,000 a year, which is decent money.
Right.
It's not, you're not rich.
Right. I know.
I mean, in New York, that you're just getting by, really, if you're living in the city, You could have a nice house, but you're not wealthy. You have this false pretense that you're making a lot of money because you could buy a lot of things.
Right.
But you still have a mortgage. You still have to pay the car. Maybe you have $10,000 in the bank. Maybe you have $20,000 in the bank.
Yeah.
You know, so your mortgage is about $50,000. Yeah, you got a nice house. Let's say your mortgage is about $80,000. You got a really nice house. You're just getting by. You know, it's possible to just get by on that.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that those guys that were making $120,000 when their salary got cut and they lost their jobs, there was no backup.
Right.
There was no way.
Everyone was living because it was always going to get better. It always did get better.
Yeah. So
you bought a house
making
$50,000 a year, knowing that in a couple of years you better be making $70,000, and you generally were. That doesn't happen anymore. Well, this is the first generation where the kids are not going to live as well as the parents did. Every generation, the kids did better.
Let me see here. 120 minus 30%. Let's say 130 minus 160 minus 30% equals. But 130 minus. I'll tell you right now.
48
minus
is
30.
82.
Why isn't this working?
It's like 82,000%.
Okay, yeah. Let's say like $100,000. You make $100,000 clean.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem was because you're making $100,000. You're like, well, I could go out to dinner. I could get a nice car. I could have my wife stay at home. I think a lot of people live like that. I'm not going to say how much money Jess and I make, but together we made a decent amount this year.
Yeah.
I am nowhere near where my father was when he was making that money on his own.
Right.
You know, when my father was making
because he didn't buy anything.
My father's goal was to pay off the mortgage in 7 years. He bought the house at $120,000 and he paid it off in 7 years. And then we lived, we lived an upper middle class life. We were never rich, but my parents never bought anything. They never had a Mercedes. They never had a BMW. We lived a simple life. I think a lot of that is out of the window. Everybody that's making X amount of money, or most people, think they're living like they're making a lot of money. So when that day comes where there's no backup.
You always talk about the things make you happy, but what determines whether you're happy or not? You do. You decide whether you're going to be happy. So you get the Mercedes and
then guess what? And then you want another one. You're like,
or the new something one bigger, out. Right? Because
the new one came out,
right? Because you think, well, it kind of did make me happy, so something else will make me happier.
I'm guilty too at it. I was laying in bed the other night. I'm like, you know what? I kind of want a newer TV in the bedroom. My TV works great. I'm like, I kind of want a newer flat screen. It's about 4 years old.
You're a victim of the commercial.
Yeah.
Your life isn't good because you don't have a giant screen, high definition flat screen.
I went online. I'm looking for a 55-inch TV. I'm like, we should mount this on the wall. We just redid the bedroom. We got brand new furniture in the bedroom. We redid the bedroom. We got a new dining room table. It was time that we did it. And I was talking to the guy, and we didn't spend too much money. We just, it was, it looks great, but it's not the crazy $3,000 bedroom set.
Right.
And, I was talking to the guy. I'm like, who's buying these? Because you know what? Most people don't buy those bedroom sets. 20 years ago, when you spent a lot of money on a bedroom set, you would have that bedroom set for the rest of your life.
Right.
You would have that for 15, 20 years.
Right.
Now,
so people aren't buying the highest quality because
they want something new.
Because they're going to want something new.
Yeah.
So they'll buy something. It's, God, I hate to say this. IKEA furniture.
Yeah.
IKEA furniture is called everyone's first apartment or first, the kid's first furniture.
It's awful.
I mean, it's okay for what it is.
No, I buy IKEA furniture all the time. So.
But the idea is IKEA furniture is not going to last you forever.
3 years.
Because you're going to change your mind.
Yeah, 3 years, and you dump it out.
Yeah.
That's what you do with it. So you can have a brand new bedroom set every 3 years,
Right. My in-laws had the same, Edie and Marge have my in-laws' bedroom set. Because they had it for 50 years.
Like dining room tables.
Yeah.
People would spend thousands on a dining room table, a really high-end dining room table.
But never buy another one ever.
Never buy another one.
Ever again.
Yeah. We just got a new one. It's already scratched. That's the problem. That's
why your parents went, don't do that. Don't go near the dining room table, because that dining room table was going to last forever.
Yeah. But do you think that was a way to do it, or do you think that we just, but again, that's this false idea that I'm going to spend $1,000 rather than spending $5,000, and I'll change it every 3 years. And I'll lead up to the same. Like, we justify spending in our heads.
Oh, absolutely.
And we compare it to things that are not realistic. You know what, though? If I buy this car, it's better on gas mileage, so I'll make like the Prius. I'll tell you, the Prius is the biggest joke on the face of the planet. You're paying a premium for this car, right? You're paying a premium. Let's say it's in the 30s. That car should be, if it was a regular gas car, the car should be about $14,000. It's a junky car. It's a very simple car. But you're paying $35,000 for this Prius. The amount of time, because you're thinking you're going to save money on gas, but the amount of time that you're gonna have to drive this car to lead up to the amount of money you would have spent on gas is 8 years. I read this article.
No one keeps a car
I did
for
a couple
8
years
years
ago. Yeah, nobody keeps a car for 8 years. I did this math a couple years ago, and I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? There's nobody's keeping this car for 8 years for it to pay off. But in that 8 years, you got to change the tires, you got to change the brakes, you got to change the shocks possibly, you got to change this, you got to change that. The amount of it's useless. It's a useless idea.
And the amount of as the car wears and tears, the mileage on it is not going to be as good. So it's not a true mileage.
I was telling someone, they're like, "Oh, I want to go buy a Prius." I'm like, "Why
Ride
would you do that?"
a bike. That's what you should do.
And then they said, "Well, it's good for but it's good for the
ride."
I'm like, "You're still driving a car." Like, you don't understand. Again, this false idea of, I'm going to do this and I'm going to justify spending this now, but I'm going to save 15 cents when I'm filling up the gas tank.
Right.
We nickel and dime here, but we give everything out. It's
right.
the craziest idea.
Oh, absolutely. They were talking about how to build a greenhouse, and they said one of the best ways to build a greenhouse is not to build a new house.
Yeah.
Because if your house is there, you're not going to add any more new materials to it. You make your house as good as you can.
One of the funniest things, a relative, I'm not going to say which one, decided that they're going to change every light bulb in their house to these energy efficient, like these kind of lights.
The squiggly lights.
They spent like $10 a freaking light bulb because they got the Philips one and it had to be this special one. To get a discount, they did the math. They're like, we're going to save this much money. And it was like, we're going to save like $40 a year. This guy changed like 50 freaking light bulbs. It's a big ass house.
Plus, what did you do with those old light bulbs?
You threw them away.
Right.
Or you kept them. Who knows what they did? They changed every light bulb. I mean, look at how many light bulbs are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 light bulbs on my first floor. He probably, if I spend $10 on these stupid bulbs because he had to go buy the expensive ones, $240 right there.
Right.
So in his mind, if he's saving, let's say $50, which he's not, let's say he's saving $20 a year. Again, the math just doesn't make sense because you're probably going to have to replace this in a couple of years.
Well, I've had these squirrely bulbs in and energy efficient bulbs that have lasted me 5 years and they're still going.
Yeah, but did you replace every single light bulb?
As they burnt out, I did.
Yeah, okay. This guy did it in one shot because he's trying to save money. Right. He's going to spend, $400.
There's a couple places that I blend the energy bulbs and a couple of incandescents because I still like the incandescent light better. But here's where I win. If you go and measure my carbon footprint, I don't have kids.
Yeah, so you win. Yeah,
I win.
You also have a great investment. You don't have that $250,000 to raise a kid.
Right.
And that's basics. It costs probably $1 million to raise a kid.
Yeah.
20 years. $1 million.
In New York, it does.
No, I think realistically it should.
Yeah. No. What I'm saying is that the statistics is nationwide. It's got to be more in New York.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I think all of this is just like I watch these shows like let's say a Dr. Oz or whatever it is, and they come up with like other ways to do things. Like, what can you do to save money? Like, you see a lot of this on like daytime TV. What can you do to
I love the
save
people
this.
who are telling me this too.
Yeah.
Who have this huge income,
And it's the math is so off where it doesn't make sense. I just got a new toilet. You know what it says on the toilet? Tip. Conserve water by not flushing as often. On my shampoo bottle, it says, turn off the water while shampooing. And I'm thinking, you're not going to flush the toilet after you use the bathroom? To save, that's your idea. That's what you're saying. Don't flush the toilet because you're going to save water. Not, don't take a 20-minute shower. Think about it. I could just see it now. Somebody's shampooing their head. They're like, oh, I'm going to shampoo my head so I save water. They're going to turn off the shower, shampoo their head, turn it back on, but still continue to take a 25-minute shower. So there's still, until at least the hot water goes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're still using the same amount of water. It's the logic.
I think you can do things.
You can, but again, you can, but you got to cut everywhere. Okay, fine. You know what? I'm going to take a quick 5-minute shower every day. Boom, 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 boom. I'm done. I'm not going to wait till the hot water ends. But that takes discipline. That takes people actually trying.
Right.
Not, I'm just going to turn it off. Because I don't think people could do the math in their head. I don't think most people could say, I'm not going to take a long shower. I just don't think people know that logic. I think people are like, well, it told me to turn off the water, so I saved. I think that's what it is. I just think most people just don't give a shit. They think they're doing something.
Yeah, well, that's
It's like the person that says, oh, I'm running, I'm exercising, and then they stuff their face.
Right.
But because they exercise, they feel that they could.
Right. It's like, well, that's the kind of thing in the boot camp that they're talking about. They keep, while we're exercising, people are talking about where they went out to dinner last night, and I'm like, really? You went to Olive Garden last night, and it's like, why even bother exercising? If you're gonna go to Olive Garden, you got to go. See, everything used to be a treat. You used to go to Olive Garden, a place like Olive Garden, once in a while. People are going there 3 nights a week and having a 6,000 calorie meal, and they're wondering why they're not losing weight.
Can I ask why there's porn all over Facebook?
Did you see my one? Did you see the one? The
Jesus?
T-shirt. No, the T-shirt about Tourette's.
No,
that was my.
There's porn all over Facebook. I don't understand what's going on. Is it like a porn on Facebook week?
Did someone get hacked?
No. Everybody's just posting porn pictures.
Posting porn.
I don't understand what's going on.
Too funny.
So that was our rant on the economy. I just find people to be hypocrites.
Oh, well, absolutely. I think the idea is to be as hypocritical, as little as possible. I'll go with that goal.
I'm just, See, this is why I never complain about stuff like this, because I'm a glutton. I eat 3,000 calories a day. I buy expensive things. I know it, but I don't complain. I'm not the one saying I'm going to cut back. You know what? If I don't have the money, I'm not going to buy it.
Right. Well,
I'm not going to then complain after I bought it and say, "Oh, see, the economy screwed me."
Yeah, I don't. You know what? You get stuff, but I never hear you say that you feel entitled to it. There's a big difference.
Yeah. No, I don't.
I say I want things. I don't feel like I'm entitled to them.
No, I say it all the time. I spend a little too much, but I'm not spending more than I could afford.
Right.
I like nice things, so I buy some, but I know what I'm doing.
I also like just, as I've gotten older, I just buy less things. I do.
Do you?
Yeah, I just don't buy.
But I think we're conditioned to buy more because stuff is not made as well, so we're always replacing stuff, and then you end up replacing it with something better. You're always ending up spending money. Like you had to buy a TV because your TV broke.
Right.
You had to buy a router because your router broke.
No, I never had a router before.
Oh, you didn't have a router, but you ended up getting a router.
Yeah.
See, but it's stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, it tweaks every once in a while. It's like, can you walk into a store and not spend $100? It's like every time I go into a store, if I spend money,
if I don't take my wallet.
Yeah. Yeah, right, exactly. But every time you walk into a store, it used to be, and I remember this growing up. There was a time where you first of all, you never had money, so you walk in the store and you didn't get anything. Then there was a time, it's every time you walked in the store, you spent half the money you had. If you had $2, you'd spend $1. You know what I mean? Every time, if you had $1, you'd spend 50 cents. You just spend half the money. And then it seemed like every time you went into a store, you spent, and you had like a flow of income, you spent $10. It didn't matter what you did, you spent $10. And then it became 20, and now it's like 100. Every time I walk into a store,
let's say once a month I go to CVS, I'll spend about $70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a wife, and there's any number of creams and makeups and that kind of thing. And
I'm only talking about myself. I'll spend $70.
Yeah, well, you and I both use products.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have to get the gel. I have to get,
Hey, listen, I have to apologize to the people. My computer's being weird tonight, so I'm not online to be able to talk to you.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to me, you have to talk to me through my iPhone. Text me.
Nothing is working long, but we're going to wrap it up soon. So,
yeah.
The Penn State scandal.
Oh.
Nutty, huh?
You know what? There's one idiot there. There's one deviant there. There's one criminal there. And then everyone didn't say anything. And all this demonstrates is what a huge crime not saying anything is. That at the end of the day, that's what it is. Because Joe Paterno is a really great coach. He was beloved by people. He was good to people. He just didn't speak at a certain point. And that's and people want to go, yeah, but he just didn't say anything. And I'm just going, it's your kid. It's your little brother. It's your best friend. It's you. Any guy that says, any of the guys that are bitching about football, what about when you were 7 years old and you were on a little league team, some guy doing that to you? Would you want someone to have said something?
I think Paterno made a big mistake by, I think everybody else made a big mistake.
I thought it was like, let me run the football program and you handle this. And they handled it. Now, they handled it in a way that the guy was still around. I think I can't say. I think that if I were in that case, I would go, why is this guy still here?
He was there for a while, and they knew he was there. And then they said, "Well,
they showed a really creepy interview with him earlier today."
Did they?
In 1999,
what was he saying?
He was retiring from his main job, saying, "Because I have this camp for this football camp for boys, and I really want to spend my time with that." And it's like, ew.
But I think in the coming weeks, more and more people are going to say, they knew something. They knew something. You know what the dumbest thing was? And it was some kid from Penn State. And he goes, well, you know what? How come the parents and the kid didn't say something? I'm like, really? You're blaming the kid?
You're going to blame the victim?
For not saying something?
It's typical. Welcome to the world of rape.
Yeah.
People always blame the victim.
Also, another thing, I don't think Joe Paterno did anything with malice. I don't think he didn't report it to protect someone. I think he went to certain people and they're like, yeah, whatever. And I also think he comes from a different school of thought. He's an older guy. It's, a lot of people come from, and I'm not defending him in any way. Again, I really don't have a stance on this. I think, everybody made mistakes.
Yeah.
I think now a lot of them are suffering for it. And I think that's justified that they're going to suffer for it. But I do think that he comes from a different way of thinking.
I'm sorry. I think about the 5 or 6 worst things that I did in my life. Very honestly, if I were brought out on the carpet for them, they would look really bad. They would look really, really bad. And I've never been brought out on the carpet for them, and and I've hoped that I've made up for them. But if I were to be brought out on the carpet for the worst things that I ever did, first of all, people wouldn't want to talk to me. And secondly, it's just like, everyone does something wrong. Everyone does something wrong. And it's like we live in a world now where it just comes out. There are no secrets anymore.
Everything comes out.
Yeah. There are secrets for a long time, but stuff comes out. Why did this finally come out? Why did it?
Well, it came out a couple of years ago and then it went away. But the investigator, the lead investigator on this went missing. Do you know about that?
No.
Yeah, there's an interesting story. Kunal brought it up. I wasn't really aware of it, but there was an investigator, the lead guy, because they had found out years ago what was going on. And the lead investigator went missing. They still haven't found him.
Fascinating.
There are so many layers to this. And then dead. Yeah, he was declared missing and then dead. Yeah. Yeah.
Which means he was either killed or living on a beach in.
But they knew years ago. I mean, they knew years ago that this was going on. And it took them quite a few years to finally put it together. I think many people knew. Many people wanted to protect it because, again, it's in these areas, college football is humongous, and you want to do whatever you can to protect your university and your brand.
I think this really turned the corner when they stopped using the word child abuse and they just started referring to the guy as raping boys in the shower. And when that happened, it turned a corner.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I just saw a picture of him on a flight, like he's at the airport going somewhere. It's a really sad situation, but I think many people just came from that thought where, well, if we don't talk about it, it'll go away. He made this mistake. But we don't want to have the name.
But if we dwell on it, it becomes a bigger problem. And it's like, no, if you don't dwell on it, it becomes a bigger problem.
I mean, but how do you not say something? You know what I mean? Like the guy that walked in on him with the kid, like how do you not?
Yeah, how did that conversation unfold? Don't say anything, man.
But like, how does the university go to him and be like, listen, what you're doing isn't right. So we're not going to sanction these like camps on campus, but you could have the satellite campus and do it on that, the satellite training facility, and do it there. I mean, like, how do you
not shut it down?
It's like, you know what? And somebody in the network does this, and I turned to him, I'm like, you know what you did was wrong. You can no longer do shows from my studio, but you could do it from your house and we'll air it.
Yeah,
we're going to turn a blind eye.
There's too much money involved.
But that's gone on for many, many years.
In many ways.
And I think we are, I would have said we are a more evolved society now that's more aware of things like this, and we're more likely to report things like this. But again,
but you know what? This is the more likely.
This is the more likely.
It's
10 years later.
Well, I think a lot of people sit around and go, it was a much better world. This kind of crap didn't go on. I think this kind of crap went on. There were reports that came out about priests in the Vatican in the 1700s. That this was going on.
Chauncey, and he got silly on a show, but he says that he was abused sexually when he was younger. He was training to go to the military, and the place that he would train, there was this guy that claimed that he was a military guy and he would train him, and he didn't realize that the guy was touching himself while he was working out, and he would go to completion while he was working out, and Chauncey had no idea. He didn't realize it until 10 years later, driving his car in an intersection, and said, oh my God, this is what he was doing. Just hit him. Turns out that the guy was doing this to many, many people, and then somebody actually reported him and they locked him up. But he was doing this for like 15 years. Nobody said a thing. I think it was a different time too. People were a little bit more naive. People didn't understand. People didn't know how to react to it. There was shame at some extent. Yeah,
I think we're moving towards it, and it's the kind of thing that people say we're more cynical, but we used to default to a more innocent assumption. Now we default to a more guilty assumption. It's like, oh, he's just a weirdo. He's, instead of, oh, he's just, kind of odd.
I'm trying to think of in high school if there was any incident like that. Yeah, one of my teachers told the story. He in Cardozo, the guy, he had a bad habit of calling kids fags.
Oh, not good.
And it was like very aggressive though. It was like it was done he was a younger teacher, but not that young to say, okay, he's at the level of the kids. He wasn't like 22, 23.
Throwing around the N-word, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he was 30. And he would go around and he would see a kid. It's like, oh, you're a fag. And then, but like in an aggressive way. I'm not doing it the same way as he's doing. I don't want to say the whole word, but we found out that he would go online, lure young teenage boys to meet with him and, you know, I guess pay him or sexually abuse him. He was doing a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, it was like sometimes the people, they would want to have
Didn't you have
sex
a couple of teachers in your school that
one of them was sleeping with the students, but he was a younger guy. He was sleeping with like the 17-year-olds.
Oh, well, see, that's...
But guess what? Guess what everybody did? He was a good-looking guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
he's good-looking, so
really
it's okay.
good-looking guy. And the girls wanted to sleep with him, so they're like, well, it wasn't done in the school. That's what people said. Like, well, he's a good-looking guy.
Yeah,
that was his defense.
Because if he was an ugly guy hitting on girls,
I think the big problem was my year that I graduated. A lot of the teachers were young in this one department.
Mm-hmm.
They were all 22, 23, 24, 25. When you're taking a 17-year-old and a 23-year-old, the gap is not that big. And the 22-year-old guy is not thinking like a 22-year-old guy. They're thinking a lot younger. So we would all go out. And we would go out the same place that the teachers are going at because they're from the neighborhood and they would drink in the same place. So we would all drink together. It was a very weird thing.
Wow.
So I think a lot of that went on. But again, that's a little bit more justified than you know, luring some boy than to Queens Boulevard.
Or a 10-year-old boy.
Or a 10-year-old
or a high school teacher going and working the sports program at the elementary school. Yeah. Kind of hard to justify that.
Yeah, so it's a lot going on. All right, let's wrap it up. Go to our website, guysfromqueens.com. Also go to see your site, gfqlive.tv. Lon, any plugs?
Listen, if you're in Bayside, near Bayside, there's a hell of a new boot camp coming, December 1st. Come see us. We're on the corner 35th and Bell.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
Yeah. You have to come by the store.
I will. Is it done?
We're in the paint rug mirror phase now.
I'll definitely come by. Lunatic Radio is not on tonight, actually. They're going to be on tomorrow night. I think there was a scheduling issue with one of them. So they're going to be on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, regular time. We'll see y'all next week. And I'm just saying, good night, everybody.
Good night.